cheers to another episode of the Weinnotes Podcast. I'm your guide, AJ Weinzettel, on this journey of stories showcasing the people behind the wonderful world of wine, where we dive into conversations ranging from terroir, viticulture, to favorite music, superpowers, and more. Please enjoy this episode of the Weinnotes Podcast. Brenda, Frank, thank you so much for being on the podcast today. I really appreciate it.
Happy to be here.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, I have to say, the reason I wanted to bring you all onto the podcast is just like it was out of nowhere. It was like the ground, and then Humble Spirit, and the Inn, and Tabula Rasa Farms, and just it's like, oh my gosh, just so much stuff happening. And then to by chance be sitting across from you at the table at Trinot retreat, Mother's Day, that was quite a treat. I appreciate that.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah. So like I said before I started recording, I normally bring a blind wine, but I think it's not fair to really blind you on a wine. But what I do with every wine, so can I pour us a little bit of wine?
Sure.
What I try to do is try to find some sort of connection with the wine. And then I normally reveal it at the very end to what the connection is. But I'm going to change things up a little bit and tell you what the connection is with this wine just kind of right off. So at the Trinot event, Jared was like, hey, we got our own private labeled wine. Would you like a bottle? And I'm like, yeah, of course.
Okay.
So
nice.
I brought a Trinot Pinot Grigio, and it's from Cooper Mountain, which they're certified biodynamic and everything, which totally completely fits into what you're doing as well.
Yeah,
So
great connection.
yeah, I thought it was too. Holy cow. Again, just talking about the opening of Humble Spirit, I'm just kind of curious, just right off the bat, like what was the inspiration to open up all the facilities and everything that you all have?
Well, AJ, it really all started with the farm. I began working on the farm in 2015. I'm from many generations of farmers. Really had no idea that I wanted to be a farmer until midlife, and I bought 23 acres and thought about doing a vineyard and thought about doing a lot of things, and had an experience of developing a raw piece of land. And of course, one of the things you do is you drill for a well, and some real reality hit me pretty quick. I ended up drilling almost 5 wells, the last one which I witched myself. It became really obvious to me at that point that we had an issue with water out here, and then suddenly I started hearing and seeing from other people in the Willamette Valley, particularly Yamhill County, about the water issues out here. And that really changed the course of events for me. I ended up still building my house with the help of my boyfriend at the time, encouraging me. And I had all these, looking back, wonderful experiences. At the time, they were terrifying: running out of water, having a water truck deliver, learning how to catch water from my roof legally and store in tanks.
Right. And
I was like dreaming, like one day if I could buy an adjacent piece of property, with the well, I could, by that time I'd gotten over my vineyard dreams, and I was like, I really want to raise cattle like my dad did. And also I wanted to do something for the environment. And that seemed like a really boots on the ground action to take. And I started kind of dreaming more about that in 2015. My neighbors put their property up for sale. They had a decent well, and I began my journey as a farmer. What I didn't forget was all the trials and tribulations with water. And so I did a lot of homework, and I found the work of Sepp Holzer and eventually his only American mentee, Zachary Weiss, who is the creator and founder of Water Stories. And Zach and I worked together for almost 6 years, and started at the original 33 acres of Tabula Rasa, and then there's more to that story, but water has been a part of our journey together from the farm to Frank coming out here, water has always been, I would say, by our side, really, because everything we do concerns water.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Did I recollect correctly? You have like 22 ponds out here?
I think we have more like 10.
Oh, that's
10.
interesting.
Okay.
10. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I was like, holy cow.
Yeah.
I mean, just the story about, bringing in an outside consultant, and then, how lush your land is, during drought season and everything is just, it's absolutely fascinating for me to read about. So I really appreciate that.
Yeah. And so kind of to go back on that story, when I decided to start my farm, I did not want to just exist primarily on a well. I was like, there's got to be work out there that is being done to put water back in the ground, to make it more sustainable, and that's where I found Sepp Holter's work and Zachary Weiss. So,
Right.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah.
In the world of wine, we hear about, like second generations going out, leaving, the winery and the wine world, finding their own place and then coming back.
Right.
And you kind of did the same thing. I mean, you left, you grew up in a rural farm in Oklahoma. You left that for advertising, fashion designing, and painting. You lived in LA and New York.
Impressive.
And what brought you back? Like, I know that you said that you're like, you wanted but what was it the hustle bustle that you wanted to leave behind just for a simpler life? What was that?
To come to Oregon?
To come to Oregon or to start a farm?
I mean, I really went straight from, I went to University of Oklahoma, and right after college I came out to LA. And I think that's where I really grew up, was the West Coast.
Right.
And I really came to love the West Coast, not so much, LA has its own beauty, and also having lived in New York out in the country, I wanted a quieter life. And so I was always really interested in the Pacific Northwest, and I was basically a Sunset magazine landed on my coffee table one day, and there was a whole article about Portland, Oregon, and I was like, I'm going to go check that out, and I did.
Right.
Yeah.
Nice. And Frank, to try to come to your side of the fence a little bit, you were in Philadelphia working at Comcast, and your father was diagnosed with brain cancer. And so you moved back to help with your father's small construction business. And you said that event kind of changed your worldview. What changed for you?
Oh, I grew up in a, still to this day, classic immigrant story, hardworking family.
Right.
And as I was looking at how, in my adolescence and thereafter, how I might interact with the world, I wasn't all that impressed with the local construction company, and but I about earning money, so I went to work for my father and in summers,
Right.
and decided I didn't want to be stuck in one place like Cleveland, Ohio, which today I love more than ever, and also that I wasn't too impressed with the dirty, muddy nature of the work. Getting myself involved in telecommunications with Comcast, and actually it started with a company in Portland, actually, which is Rogers Communications, which is in Canada now.
Right.
And so there's this high-flying growing industry, and then my father got sick, and I ended up moving back to take care of the family business, and got to work with all the people that I had disdained for what they did in the past. And then I learned something, from large corporate nuance to people who are artisans, who can create with their hands and eyes, and whose verbal communication skills are more blunt, and truth was clearer.
Right.
And so I got an appreciation for work and workers that I had sort of lost in the nuance of going into corporate life, I guess I'll say. And that was the shift.
Okay.
The shift was having not only a respect but a love for people who are artisans. So from construction to shipbuilding and ship repair to industrial fabrication to farming and to viticulture and to culinary, there is in each of those parts of my path and story a connection to people who create art and craft together. A lot of people don't realize that that a construction worker or a welder has more in common with an artist, maybe than they might have with a person working in an office.
Right.
Because of the nature of the work, seeing an artist and an artisan get together is like a love affair. So that's sort of what changed.
Okay.
Respect for artisans, respect for clearer truth and being one person is kind of how I got all of that from that.
Very nice, very nice. Well, that's quite a lesson to learn, probably at such a young age.
Yeah, I suppose.
Yeah.
Well, it's easy to forget there's beauty in not only in all beings, but in, I don't know, I think I could probably fall in love with 80% of humanity if given enough time to really know them.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how does the two of your all stories like converge and meet up?
I mean, I'll do it, but you can do it. Okay.
Well, I was in Oregon, and I actually left Oregon to go study psychology at a more kind of holistic place in Missouri, actually in Springfield, Missouri, and it was kind of like going back. I call it going back to the middle for me, since I'm from Oklahoma, and I had a great time, but it really solidified my yearning to be in the Pacific Northwest, and to actually, that's kind of where I got my idea to own some acreage, and it came from Missouri, and I bought the 23 acres,
Mm-hmm.
and I was an artist. I was actively painting and an artist at that point, and a friend of mine introduced me to Frank, and we kind of started a friendship, and then talk about, industry and art. I think I'll just speak for myself, but kind of attracted to that because, industry and art really does go together. I mean, art and artisan, craft maker, the whole thing. It's like makers. We're all makers of some sort, and I think that was a really strong thread for both of us.
Yeah, no, that is nice. And I mentioned I've been in tech since '93.
Yeah.
So I write code, and there is a beauty into writing code as well.
Yeah.
And you don't think about it, but it is very artistic in its own fashion as well.
Yeah,
it's cool.
Yeah, so getting kind of maybe back to getting more specific to the answer to your question around how we connected with the ground. Is that where we were sort of trying to head, or
just the two of your all stories and how they converged? Like how did you all meet and like?
We'll leave that story for another day. No,
okay, that's fine.
It's a good one. But we actually met as typical story, right? You're trying to date one person and you meet their friend, and
right.
That's the very shortest version of that story that's ever been told.
Yeah.
But,
okay.
Let's go with that one.
Well, let's go with that one for now.
All right, that sounds great.
Yeah. We found each other at a time where being anything but authentic was just not in the cards. It was like, okay, we just connected from a point of view of our real selves,
right?
Without without anticipation of an intimate relationship, actually.
Right.
And then it's funny what truth and depth will get you when you're not in a posturing place, which gets to a lot of what the ground is about, really, which is helping realize human potential in harmony with the planet.
Mm-hmm.
And so we had an opportunity to meet emotionally, intellectually, consciously, and subconsciously in an authentic way. And so our journeys around those things
right.
manifest in the farm and all the connection programming and the ways to connect people and nature.
Very cool. Now I'm going to go out on a limb here a little bit, and I'm going to make some assumptions.
Okay.
I'm probably wrong, and that's cool. Please feel free to correct me.
Okay.
So Frank, in 2015, you went to a Wyden and Kennedy co-hosted summit called the Love Summit.
Okay.
And I'm curious, the outcome of attending that event, did that have inspiration to what the ground is for everything that's here?
No, it did not.
Okay. See, I told you it was an assumption.
Yeah. And embarrassingly, I don't remember attending a Wyden Kennedy summit called the Love Summit in 2015.
Okay. Well,
So,
I mean, it kind of what came out of that was, your truth, responsibility, evolution.
Oh, I got a chance to present our values at Vigor.
Okay.
And it must have been a speech I made at an event.
Okay.
Okay, and I apologize to
No, that's okay. I
Wyden
apologize
Kennedy
too.
because bringing love, and you may notice that almost all of our URLs here are .love, not .com.
Correct.
And that is intentional.
Right.
So
I figured that it was, and I
yes.
saw that you attended the Love Summit.
yes,
And I'm like,
and
ooh,
and
there
our
might be a
values-
connection
It's a
here.
nice connection.
And the Vigor values are truth, responsibility, evolution, and love from the shipyard and industrial fabrication days, and the getting to a place that says love and emotions are part of work. They are not a separate thing.
Right.
I hear this expression, that's just business, don't get personal, that's emotional. Those are often used, and like using that's emotional as a bad thing, I think is we have a great opportunity to go back and be children and allow ourselves to really express the true feelings of where we are. We can get so much farther with communication if we will stand in the space of love and openness. Even though opening that way can sometimes cause pain, it can also process quicker if you are in the open state. So, I don't know where I took that. I may have taken this somewhere different than where you want to go.
No, it's totally fine.
But it really is to me, it is the root of the ground as well. It's our public statement that we issue for connecting farm, food, and people through hospitality.
Right.
Our deeper mission that doesn't market well, but is truly our mission, is actually connecting people whose deeds serve both the regeneration of the planet and the realization of human potential. So those ideas together, and the interconnectedness of everything,
right.
And coming from a loving place that you are actually part of the planet. You are part of nature, not a separate thing. Over here is nature, and over here is people. Is all those things weave together from themes that have always been part of life.
Right. I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
You're the CEO, of this big shipyard. How do you come to that sort of realization? Like, how,
So I'm going to come at this from another word we use. The restaurant that is open today is called the Humble Spirit.
Correct.
And thinking about the meaning of the word humble or humility, I use a shorthand a lot with everyone, which is everyone matters, just not that much. So the connection to the ground, and then I looked up, and along the way, actually, it was Zach Weiss who helped build the pond system here,
right,
that Brenda mentioned earlier. We started into a dialogue that happens out here. These things happen all the time. And he's like, have you looked up the dictionary definition of nature lately? And if you look up the dictionary definition, you'll find that we in the Western world have defined nature as being the natural world as opposed to humans and human creations. So somehow we've decided we are not part of nature in the way we've written that. So a beaver is considered part of nature by that definition.
Right.
And a dam that the beaver builds is considered part of nature, but a human is not. So I think our path that has taken us through we are going to conquer nature so it doesn't kill us, and then we hate ourselves because we've destroyed nature, is both our fallacious arguments, and both are born from a sort of narcissism that we are human-centric as opposed to nature-centric. And if we think of ourselves as part of nature, and we realize we are one of 6 million species, and we're okay with that,
Right.
and know that we matter, just not that much.
Yeah.
So this is how love of nature, love of people, all connects to what the ground is doing.
I want to add to that, ecocentric, because eco, the base of that word is actually home, and ecology, home. So ecocentric, that's a philosophy that is out there and has been written about and the whole thing. But I really think, nature-based and ecocentric, it's very similar.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that is.
Yeah.
That's great. I love it.
Yeah.
Now, it's hard to sell a steak at Source Farms with this kind of language, and it's hard to sell a burger at Humble Spirit with this kind of language, but coming from a sense of abundance and joy and connection is not. And so this is the love of connection and the pure joy of being connected to everything. And when people feel connected to their food and the land that they're standing on or the water they're wading in, it brings childlike joy, and it's a beautiful thing.
I couldn't agree more. And Brenda, there's a quote that you have out there. If people can't see, taste, feel, and touch the land, it's hard to create an appreciation for regenerative agriculture and the products we produce as farmers. But when you give people immersive experiences, you can change the world.
I said that? No.
Yeah,
That's cool.
yeah.
Were you part of that summit at Wyden and Kennedy?
Yeah.
No, I really do believe that, and that's one thing when I started the farm and Frank was still at Vigor, and it's like, I have this dream, I want to do this, and he's like, yeah, you need to go do it. And so we lived apart for a couple of years. He was still working at Vigor, and I was out here at the farm, and we had a place that we'd meet on the weekends and the whole thing. And I guess where I'm getting from this is that it became really evident the first year or two how hard it was going to be to make this financially stable with farming, especially
Right.
just a small 33-acre farm. You can have the best marketing. It's just you don't have enough of the volume to make this happen. And I'm not the first person to realize this, but agritourism is very necessary for small, medium-sized farms to survive.
Right.
And that was always part of the plan. And really, so that beautiful quote that I, managed to iterate at one point was really, it's about bringing, I also, when we were giving farm tours, I could just see the joy on people's faces when they're like, being around a chicken or a pig, and then suddenly, it's just we are humans, we are part of nature, and just that connection. And so when Frank decided to join the farm, and what was it, 2019? Yeah. Sold the business. I was like, Frank, one of the foundations of this has to be agritourism, and he couldn't agree more. And so we really have such a great opportunity here to give immersive experiences and reconnect people where whatever landing pad they join us on, be it through the restaurant or Source Farms or the inn or a farm tour. So
Right.
just meeting people where they are and allowing them to have the opportunity to connect with nature and wherever they feel comfortable.
Right.
Yeah.
This brings up a really. I wonder if people realize how long it's been since people lived more rural than urban, or more urban than rural.
Yeah.
1920 was the year when more people in the United States lived rural than urban. Since that date, it's now way, way, way more urban than rural.
Yeah, so we're 100
Yeah.
years into that.
Yes,
Yeah.
2017 was the year that the entire planet became more urban than rural. So hooray for us. We were ahead of the game. And responsibility us, how can we possibly expect our generation or future generations or past generations to have an appreciation for most of the planet, how food is grown, what happens with weather when we live in urban areas? I think there's two things. We need to forgive ourselves for what we don't know, and we need to make sure that experiences exist so that those of us who've barely ever lived at, I mean, the only place you go is, you got to go to the Tetons, you got to go someplace fancy to go to a park.
Right.
But to have a place like this that, because of our responsible land use choices in the state of Oregon, you can actually have farmland and agricultural sanctuaries within an hour of a major urban area. And figuring out how to responsibly make it possible, and I'm going to focus this, adults and children in particular, to be able to have the joy of connection to the planet. It's our responsibility to make sure that happens.
Yeah.
So, okay, call it agritourism, but if done responsibly, and this isn't about turning our beautiful state into a theme park. It's an opportunity for education and immersion as well as joy.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah. I heard a quote about this too. It's like, you can't teach nature. You need to be in nature and feel it and, experience what that is. And so, like, places like us, like Frank said, that we are really a sanctuary for this to happen, because we're not only are we raising sheep and cattle and chickens and things, but we have other things that you can do here too. So it's really, I don't know, it's kind of a beautiful place that we get to enjoy.
Yeah. So let's dive into like everything that's here.
Yeah.
Like, I can't remember all of it, so I'm just going to kind of rely on you all to kind of walk us through that.
Okay, so it's a bunch of pieces interconnected, which is intentional because it's about diversity. And the principles, one of the principles of permaculture, regenerative agriculture, is diversity, rotation, and rest. Mm-hmm. Those exact things apply to the evolution of our species and to our planet. So our organism, the ground, represents, it's really about interconnection. So we have a protein sales business that not only sells our products, but sells the products of other high quality growers, and it's called source farms. Mm-hmm. We have places in cities for people to connect, because the concept here of agritourism doesn't just happen out in the beautiful settings outside this window. It happens in the small towns that we are blessed with, like Carlton, like McMinnville, and like Yamhill. Right. So Yamhill, the town, is where our Source Farms farm stand is, and where we have a B&B. McMinnville, we have a large event center so that we can do, which has a very substantial outdoor component to it. Yeah. And we have a restaurant called the Humble Spirit that is named on purpose and intentionally around the concept of humility and also the spirit of humility. And so those and we have accommodation spaces like the one just outside the door here, which is called In the Ground, mm-hmm. which is literally built in the ground to help with the whole concept of grounding, but it also helps substantially reduce the footprint of the building. So it's a 9-bedroom bed and breakfast, and only the top floor is above ground. Wow. So then we have one more place, which is the original farmhouse that Brenda designed and had built, which is right across the road. So yeah. Accommodations, events and catering, protein sales, and now we're putting in a vineyard and a winery.
Oh.
So, and perhaps that's why we get to talk to you today. I kind of hope it is in a way.
Yeah, let's dive into it.
Yes. So we've taken about a 22-acre swath of property here.
Okay.
That's just behind where we're sitting. And the land is prepared. We are in the very final stages of layout of the trellises, putting pencil rod and trellis up. We'll be planting in the spring all of our All of our fruit is ordered.
Nice.
Our vines are ordered. We've chosen some methodology that is as close to as we can get to being able to pragmatically deliver a product and service that has a chance of making a profit, but also taking into account regenerative principles and how we're doing it. We're actually doing very wide row spacing with half our vineyard to allow for year-round grazing of sheep, which if you go just a few steps out this door, you'll see where the sheep are grazing today.
Right.
And the other half is more the traditional row spacing that you find in the valley, where we will graze in partial seasons. So it's all connected. And I realize I've covered a lot of things, but the weaving together of all those things is the ground. It is the interconnection.
It is.
All the pertinent parts are about interconnection. And it's kind of, I'm sorry, I'm going to flip another one in there. And
No, please.
But we happen to be sitting in a space where every Monday we do a volunteer meditation called Meditation Mondays. And we sit in circle and we either speak or play or listen to a guided meditation. Then we share and then we all go about our business. And, it's attended it can be 6 people, it can be 16 people, and it's just come share our living room.
Right.
And share. We do walking meditations. So again, bringing people into connection with the physical world that is not the built physical world is a big part of it.
And you also have I'm probably going to use the wrong term here, so my apologies, but like a fitness center. Like you have
We do. We
pickleball
left that out.
and-
Yes. We actually have a tennis court where pickleball happens. There's thanks to the foresight of a logger by the name of Richard Vaughn. He got zoned an area called a recreational commercial zone where you can have actual recreation, a resort, a restaurant, all kinds of things. What we have there today, is a tennis court that was originally built by him and renovated by us. That is where we do yoga, pickleball, tennis, and we do other events, particularly in and outside of it. It happens to be right where our market garden is, where we've got about 5 acres of market garden, which is not small for a market garden.
No.
And where we're growing over 160 different varieties of vegetables and edible flowers. So, sorry, I went right back into farm from tennis. So,
like you said, it's all
pickleball,
connected.
But it's all connected.
Right.
And the joy of people, you sell CSAs to people who come and play pickleball.
Right.
And you provide a fitness facility for people who live out here when it's not tourists. And so for us, the interconnection of community has always been part of this program.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And, this is IP&C week.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to say, I'm very much looking forward to, Thursday night being at Humble Spirit. And that I'm very much looking forward to that. Yeah, I'm one of the moderators for one of the talks in the afternoons.
Oh, nice.
Oh, nice.
And so, I've been told, I'm like, okay, you are attending the Humble Spirit dinner. I'm like, okay, I will go.
Right on. You can.
Darn it.
I'll get that done.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is that at Stillwater? Is that our event space on Thursday?
I
Okay.
thought it was
It
at
was at the
Humble.
restaurant itself?
Yeah,
Okay,
I think
awesome.
so, yeah.
Okay.
And Stillwater, I love Stillwater. I loved it when Elizabeth Chamber was there. And then, over Thanksgiving, there was like a Friendsgiving wine event.
Oh,
And-
yeah, it was
Right.
awesome.
and everybody was there. They were just, pretty much everybody was there. It's just close to my heart. Hazel Fern was there,
Yeah.
Arabelis
Right.
was there, 100 Sons, Joe,
Yeah.
everybody. And just like,
Well, you must know about the turnout event we're doing as well, right? At Stillwater. I think it's this weekend.
It's this weekend, I
This
think.
weekend, yeah.
They're doing the food takeover of the event, and we're doing it at Stillwater.
Yeah.
that will be,
Yeah.
yeah, and what y'all are doing at Stillwater,
It's
I try
awesome.
to keep up with all of the events and all of wine country and oh my gosh, there's just so many. So I don't remember all of them off the
Right,
top of my head.
right.
Speaking, it's all connected. So Brian Lang, I don't know if you know this from Hazel Fern,
Yeah.
is an amazingly high quality tennis player.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And one of his main suppliers, grape suppliers, is a friend of mine for 20 years.
Oh, wow.
Who has a vineyard in Banks.
Okay.
So I didn't have these, I've known my tennis friend longer than I've known Brian Lang, but it's just, everything is connected.
It is. It really is. And the story of Brian and when James Suckling came to town and, they were just playing tennis and talking Chardonnay through the whole match.
Yeah.
It was, I love those stories.
Yeah.
You mentioned the farmhouse a little bit. And if I have on my notes correctly, so the like part of the farmhouse is like from like an anchor or something from your shipyard, or is that? Did I get that correctly?
Actually, it was from dry docks, original dry docks at the shipyard, where some of the boards were milled and used on my staircase and the loft. That was my artist studio. That's what I built when I first bought the property. Was my home and art studio. And
you built that in a way so you had like constant northern light or something. Is that correct?
Yeah, I just put skylights in, and the house actually faces north and south, but just
right.
It had constant north light.
Very nice.
Yeah, 100-year-old dry dock that was dismantled had this incredible wood left. So
right.
Yeah,
very nice.
There. And there's other shipyard artifacts here and there.
For sure.
The British phone booth that's on the corner in Carlton, where we
right.
have some property that we own,
okay.
came from somehow it found its way onto a dock at the shipyard 40 years ago.
Yeah.
And
right.
when I ended up acquiring the shipyard, I ended up being the owner of a couple of British phone booths.
Oh, wow.
So
that would be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How else do you end up with a British phone booth on a corner in Carlton?
I don't know. I mean, maybe you just kind of like somehow get it on your luggage and get it in the plane.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
People dread when they have to move that thing. It's like, what is it, cast iron? Yeah.
I could imagine.
Yeah.
You're talking about the small towns and like Carlton. Y'all put in like a proposal for, to do some stuff in Carlton and whatnot, but you've kind of, retracted that a little bit.
Yeah.
Like what were you thinking about doing? And
Well, we were thinking about and are still thinking about a hotel in Carlton. Carlton doesn't have any large accommodation spaces, and it's a beautiful town.
right.
And it's a really special place, and so we've actually for 4 years been working on this project. Finally brought it to the public for input, and even in the last year before we started wondering if it was the right scale for the town. And in listening to the public feedback, which was both positive and negative, we considered what was said and decided that it really was the wrong scale for the town. So we pulled the project as planned rather than
right.
submitting it. And now we're looking at a different version of something that is more in fitting with the size of the town.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
And it's really interesting when you try to live what it means to be community connected and also make change and development. It's always been more important to us to be part of this community than whether or not we ever build a hotel.
Right.
We're in a stage of life where leaving something behind that is long lasting is, really the goal. It's not the quick turnaround dollar.
That's
so.
Yeah.
So if it doesn't really serve the community, why force it? So there you go.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. In your foundation, you're helping the Catholic Charities of Oregon, and you did like a year-end cash gift to help permanent supportive housing in Yamhill County. I mean, you're doing a lot of things for the community.
Through the foundation. Otherwise, housing really matters here, and figuring out a way where people. I'm going to call it worker housing. The term affordable housing usually, has sort of a.
That's fair.
Meaning. Affordable housing is such an interesting thing because the pipe that you use for the plumbing, it's just as affordable for a luxury condominium as it is for an affordable house. So, you have to figure out a way to make things work, and often making things work has to do with finding investment that will live with a lower return. So we continue to work on worker housing because people that work here in this county need to be able to still be able to live here.
Right.
So that's an easy statement to make, and we've been working on that as long as we have the hotel, and we have yet to break ground on a project. So taking a longer view is a really important thing, and investing in this great community is worth doing for its own sake.
Very nice. I have to circle back around to the winery a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do you know what grape varieties you're going to plant, or who you're thinking about for a winemaker? I mean, I could go on and on with a ton of questions.
Yes, we know what we're planting.
Okay.
Yeah, we're planting basically 60% Pinot and 40% and 40% Chardonnay.
Okay.
We're taking advantage of what already works here. I guess if you want to call it our innovation is less about what varietals we chose and how we're choosing to farm.
Right.
So figuring out the year-round grazing, and seeing where that takes us, and getting to the dry farming state, which is also our plan.
Mm-hmm.
But I find it ironic that people call dry farming, taking 3 to 5 years to establish before you dry farm. But that's the dry farming we're doing too, because the failure rates of pure dry farming are super high.
Right.
It didn't make sense to us to allow 50 to 75% of our vineyard to underproduce or not produce at all, to prove that we use no water.
Right.
Because most of the things that grow here in Oregon are not grown without water.
Yep.
Or without some impact on water. So. Yeah.
And I would just like to add that, we've encountered water difficulties. I mean, we're having a hard time finding enough water to properly irrigate this vineyard. I mean, we will probably find it, but it just goes to show you this problem of a lack of water underground is pervasive around here. And you can be really lucky in some places and unlucky in others. And
right.
I'm still confident that we will find water. And to the other piece is when we agreed to do this vineyard, I mean, we knew it had to be regenerative. Right. And we're really, kind of out on a limb. Not a lot of people have taken that stance with regenerative vineyard viticulture.
Right.
And, we're working with a great group of people at RP, and they're very supportive of what we're trying to do, and we're kind of excited about that. We've already got to implement some of the water retention permaculture with a little infiltration pond that we did that was basically would have normally been handled by drain tile. So I thought that was a win, and we did a combo of both, and we'll see how that works. But we're fully admitting that this is all an experiment. So we will see how it goes.
Yeah.
And it's really fun to take in a lot of input, because we have lots of traditional farmers who think we're absolutely insane not to be drain tiling. And we have other people that are working on the more organic side and the thinking that we're sellouts because we'll actually irrigate. And it's just such a fascinating, you make your own course. And right. I think having the opportunity to borrow from so many experts that we have and sort of make our call from there, this community, I talk about whether we might get criticism, but it's even better to get the input. And it has been so freely given here. It's just, I've worked in lots of industries before, and I've never seen this level of cooperation. And people say I'm Pollyanna about it because, it's not that. And I said, no, it really is. It's
impressive.
It's
it really is impressive.
It really is.
And it's a long list of people that have given us advice and counsel. And I can name, we could go into the naming now, but we'll just, I guess we got to say one. If you actually said RP, we did not invoke Tony Soder, I would feel like we were.
Yeah, Tony was a huge help.
Yeah, I can only imagine.
Ken Wright as well.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
And I could, if we're going to keep naming names beyond Tony, Ken Wright, Rob Stewart, Grant Coulter, Kate Payne Brown,
yes.
Siobhan Ball. I could now. I'm gonna keep going.
Yeah.
There's a lot of names of people that have contributed to how we've looked at Sterling. Sterling also. It's just lots of folks.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Have you heard of a winery near Eugene called Antiquum?
Yes.
Okay, good. I just wanted to make sure because, with your grazing-based agriculture, that's fits what you're doing to a T.
And when we meet folks like the folks from Antiquum, it's like this joyous moment of interconnection of the kindred spirits. And I'm sorry, I'm not thinking of the name of the winery in the Hood River area.
Hayu?
No, although we know him. He actually bought animals from Brenda like way back.
Early on, yeah.
Yes.
Maybe Analemma?
Yes, Analemma.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
That was meeting him was a beautiful moment.
I can imagine.
Because I ended up in some room with a bunch of. Well, the industry is interesting because a lot of people are very much believing in themselves.
Right.
And when you get to meet other people who are just in some joy place and open, that's the owner of Analemma brought that joy.
I can only imagine.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Well, I have a few rapid fire questions, and then I'll get you out of here.
Okay.
And you have to understand some of these are geared toward winemakers, so I might have to
Right on.
change up some things. Favorite artist to listen to while you're, say, out in the field, or normally I say during harvest, right? But if you have a favorite artist that you like to listen to while you're just getting stuff done.
You said it was rapid fire. Sorry.
It's okay.
Every single song on the Humble Spirit playlist I curated because the lyrics match the concept of humility and spirit.
Okay.
So getting to one is always hard.
That's fair.
In those cases, but whether it's Joni Mitchell or Rochelle Farrell or Bill Evans or or Gift of Gab. I mean, I can't go there with just one.
That's fair.
And harvest is sort of a relevant term because there's you're cultivating and you're picking your vegetables and you're processing your animals. So we
Different kinds of harvest.
Yes.
Yeah.
So much.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. How about you, Brenda?
I kind of, it varies for me too. I mean, it'll be fun when we actually have our first grape harvest. Then we can talk. Yeah.
All right. So let me see, you're planting in 25, so maybe about 2028.
Yeah,
we'll
exactly.
come back
yeah,
and revisit.
Yeah.
And you didn't ask this, but we know nothing when it comes to wine. We know nothing, and it's a beautiful place to be. And if you don't, it's just a clean. It's kind of joyful to know you don't know,
right?
Because you're so It's as soon as you start thinking
Oh.
Yeah. So
yeah.
We're grateful to be in a place where people pour out their passion, and we get to take it in with so little judgment. So we thank all of them.
Yes, and I will say, I mean, there are winemakers that I sit across the table from, and they've been in it their whole lives, and they're like, I still don't know. I mean, there's so much to the world of wine that it is endless.
Yeah. That's a real humility. Yeah,
It is.
All right, so what's next on your rapid fire list?
Favorite indulgent food?
I'm just picking one that feels like an indulgence, but it's we have two dishes at the Humble Spirit that make me super happy, and one of them is the beet salad.
Okay.
Because and there's a garden veg when you are served something that tastes beautiful and looks like art that came out of your own garden, that you get to enjoy and you get to watch other people enjoy. That's I'm going to go there for indulgent.
Perfect.
I'll say the French fries at Humble Spirit.
Perfect. I love it.
By the way, if you get the French fries at the Humble Spirit, you want to get the sauce flight because everyone has wine flights. So the Humble Spirits, we're just trying to humbly keep up. So we serve a series of sauces as a sauce flight.
Oh, okay.
With the fries.
Insider secret.
Yeah, there you go.
I was not aware of that.
Only your podcast listeners will know.
Yeah.
Yes. I love it. If you could choose a superpower, what would it be? So this is
someone wrote in a book, make the charitable assumption. Be fully present, listen without judgment. All of those, sort of crash together for. Don't let your fear guide your feelings or thoughts.
Mm. Wow.
I'm going to go a little bit simpler, but the
Thanks.
first thing that came to mind was to bilocate.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah.
nice. Very nice.
Yeah.
Last book you read. It could also be Audible or say even like a podcast.
What was the name of the book that I stole from you? The tree book? That was... Do you remember it?
I don't.
Yeah.
You took it before I could actually.
It was a book about trees and how to plant mini forests. It was fascinating.
That would be fascinating.
Yeah.
I can find the title for it.
Yeah.
A book called Source by Joseph Jaworski.
What is that about?
Mindfulness, consciousness.
Okay.
He has another one that's sort of the first one called Synchronicity.
Okay.
It's, there's a psychological concept out there called flow, which is a fancy,
Right.
The name of the author it's a Polish name and it's really long, but I don't know it. I pronounce it Sixth Sense Mahai. Same idea of being fully conscious and allowing yourself to both think and feel and find your flow and go with the flow that you find.
That's
Yeah.
perfect. Well, that's all the questions that I have.
Okay.
Is there anything that you feel like I didn't cover that you'd like to cover?
Wow, I think we covered it.
Well, we didn't talk about sports. We didn't talk about, we didn't
I'm
talk
sorry.
about the rodeo. We did okay.
So-
it's
so
okay.
many things.
Cars. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess if I had to give an outtake, it would be go as deep as you want. Stay simple while you're doing it. It's a great way to be grounded. Is to put those two things together.
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate both of you taking the time today. It's really an honor. I appreciate it.
Same here. Thank
Thanks,
you.
AJ.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for joining me on this flavorful voyage through the world of wine on the Weinnotes Podcast. I've been your host and guide, AJ Weinzettel, and it's been an absolute pleasure sharing these captivating stories with you. But alas, like the last sip of a fine vintage, our time together must end. But don't fret, my wine-loving friend. The cellar doors of the Weinnotes Podcast will always remain open, waiting for you to return and explore new conversations, stories, and musings from the captivating people behind the magical world of wine. Before you go, hit that subscribe button on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify, and don't forget to leave a sparkling 5-star review to help spread the word. Until our glasses clink again, remember to savor life's moments and let the spirit of wine and camaraderie linger on your palate. Cheers, and as always, may your wine glass be full, your heart be light, and your journey be delight.